sense of humor, and he really appreciated his Italian tradition. Now that may not mean much to you, but it meant a lot to me, and I'll miss the guy. He was just a really, really sweet man. And I guess with that said, I can stop. I've had that to say. Okay, now we can start. Over these last couple of weeks, 3 weeks actually, this is the third week in a series of several weeks, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to run this, that I've been talking about prosperity and the spiritual life. That's really the theme of what we're dealing with here. And a lot of people think, well, when we talk about prosperity, we're talking about one thing, and that is money. And I want to make it very, very clear that's not what we're talking about, although I will talk about money next week. And you will get a very different, I hope you'll get a different impression on it. Week before last, we talked about prosperity as an inside job. That was the title of the talk at that particular time. And last week, we talked about, under the theme of the trance of scarcity. In other words, that belief that there's just always lack, there's always limitation. And today I want to just talk in a more general sense about prosperity principles. And that's the title of our talk this morning. And I want to start by reading you some things that'll seem like they're totally unrelated to what I'm going to be speaking about. And that could very well be because they are, although I hope to be able to make the connections. These are some quotes that I've taken from a variety of places that sources which I think you will appreciate. The first one comes from Meister Eckhart. Some of you may know who Meister Eckhart was. He was a 13th century Dominican priest who had a heck of an impact on the world, continues to have an impact on the world because of his clarity of understanding and being able to see through to the truth of things. And if he were alive today, if they didn't excommunicate him then, they probably would now, like they did Matthew Fox, because his thinking was so leading edge. And this is a comment that he made that I like very much. Pretty acceptable, though, even in his time. Said, when the soul wishes to experience something, it throws an image of the experience before it and enters into its own image. Think about that. Isn't that marvelous? We can project outward from within and step into that we project, is essentially what he's saying. That puts a certain level of responsibility on our shoulders, isn't it? There's another one that I came across. This is a quotation that one, the first one, dated in the 13th century. This one dates to the 17th century. Bishop George Berkeley, Irishman. He's the fellow after whom the city, Berkeley, where the University of California was named. And he made this comment that I have been contemplating for a long time, and it still causes me to think, because I still don't truly understand it or haven't completely embodied it. But it's this: the only things we perceive are our perceptions. Now take that and work with it a little bit. The only things we perceive are our perceptions. You say, where is he going with all of this stuff? Well, I'll give you one just a little bit more contemporary. It comes from my friend of mine who's my prayer partner. And I was giving him this quotation one day a year or so ago. And he said, that kind of lines up with something that I came to. And that is, the dream is dreaming the dream. You begin to see the elusiveness of this sort of thing. It begins to make you wonder if maybe the dream is not just the dream, or the perception is just the perception. It sort of reminds me of that old puzzle, the puzzle that goes in, does a falling tree in the forest make a sound? there is no one there to hear it? Or you might ask the question, if you're a little more quantum mechanically oriented, for that matter, is there even a tree without an observer present? So we get into these fuzzy kinds of areas and say, why am I even bringing this up? Because I think it's directly related to the kinds of things that we're talking about here. Prosperity, which most people think of as a very materialistic way of experiencing life, experiencing the process life. If we examine its real meaning, is to thrive, to flourish, and to succeed. To thrive, to flourish, and succeed. Is that just a perception that we have? Is that just the image that we create? And the reason that most of us are not experiencing it at the level we would like to is that we're not stepping into it and occupying it. So how do we do this? Well, I think it's a matter of shifting our beliefs and shifting them in ways that are going to help us to really uplift our consciousness or our ability to see, or to alter our perception of things we're looking at, so they reinforce. I'm getting too philosophical here? Okay, let's get back to something really practical. What I'm going to talk about this morning. Oh, first of all, in your bulletin, you have a little handout, and I ask you not to read that while I'm talking because it makes me feel insecure, hurts my feelings. But it's bulletized 7 principles of prosperity. Now, take that with you, study them. I think they're really good ideas. But today, instead of trying to go over 7, I want to talk about 3 practical points that are so simple, so straightforward, that they may be able to help us shift the way we look at things, shift our perception of what it is we're really seeing. And these 3 points are these. Number 1, you're enough just the way you are. That song, that's why I chose that song for this morning. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. There's nothing to rearrange. Okay? You're enough just as you are. Number 2, there is enough to go around for you and for everybody. And number 3, it is your duty. That's a dirty 4-letter word, by the way, that some people don't like. It is your duty. It is your solemn obligation. It is your life task, if I might put it that way, to experience it all. Remember Jesus said, I have come that they might have life and have it abundantly. How could he have even made such a suggestion if it hadn't been that the abundance already exists? And why are we not experiencing it more profoundly in our lives? Because sometimes we won't allow ourselves to perceive it. And of course, behind the perception is a shift in the way we see things and the way we believe about things. So let's look at these 3 things. You're enough, just as you are right now. I want to quote something to you that comes from Dr. Ernest Holmes' writing. Dr. Holmes is our founder. He wrote that marvelous book called The Science of Mind. And this appears in some of the early pages. He says, the original life, the infinite God, the original life is infinite. It is good. It is filled with peace. It is of the essence of grace. It is the ultimate of intelligence. It is power. It is law. It is life. It is in us. In that inner sanctuary of our own nature, hidden perhaps from our objective gaze, nestles the seed of perfection. Isn't that an encouraging idea? God is all there is, and it is in us that the idea of being made in the image and likeness of God. And every great religious tradition, whether it's Christian, Hindu, Buddhist, nudist, or whatever, they have all said the same thing. See, that vital principle, that the conscious awareness of the presence of reality we call God is there to be sparked into awakeness or into awareness for us. And then Holmes goes on and he says this: in our ignorance of this truth, oh, I love this, we have misused the highest power we possess. And so great is this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so absolute the domain of law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us the very conditions from which we suffer. We are bound because we are first free. As ye sow, so shall ye